Alright guys, quickly I want to tell you about the Vortex Solo RT8X by 36. This is a monocular by Vortex. And if you're not familiar with monoculars, it is exactly what it sounds like. It's half of a binocular, which is one of the benefits. And it's kind of why it's popular lately. So I'll just tell you about my opinions about the Solo RT right now. As far as build quality goes, it seems pretty good. I like the fact that it's got this kind of indicator on the top. Tells you the right way to hold it, so if you're holding it in a dark situation, you can just immediately orientate it the right way. And I'm looking right now out at, let's see, about 1,020 yards out this window right now across a lake. And man, that reticle is really nice. That is really the reason why people are going to be interested in the Solo RT. So if you know anything about reticles, rifle scopes, and that kind of thing, when you get to having a monocular with a reticle or binoculars with a reticle, spotting scope with reticle, the price is, okay, north of $500 a lot of times. It's not hard to do, especially with binoculars. You could see $1,000 for something like that. Spotting scopes easily $1,000 plus with a reticle that's functional. And so this is, as far as I'm aware, the most affordable monocular that has a reticle in it. And so why would you want something like that? I guess if I was just to speak to that issue real quick, the way I use it for quick ranging. If I don't want to bring a rifle, we're just shooting one rifle and I'm going to spot for a guy, I actually can use this both for ranging and spotting. I've used 8X on an AK to get out to 1,025 yards, and the conditions were perfect that day, but I could see my misses and my impacts as far as the target moving or dust cloud. I couldn't quite spot like any trace in the air, not really that day, but I could see the dust cloud and my impacts on the target as the target moved. And so 8X is enough to get you pretty far. Now, as far as the reticle itself, it does have an auto ranging feature inside. And so the way that a monocular works is it's not something with eye relief where you hold it out here, you bring it right to your eye. And when you bring it right to your eye, you're gonna see 50 mils down, 50 mils to the left. It looks like you got about 60 up and 60 to the right. And the auto ranging feature specifically goes out to 600 yards. You have 300, 400, 500, 600 yards. And that feature is pretty good as long as it's rested. Now this does not have like a tripod, a mount, a 1/4-inch jack, anything like that. I kind of wish it did. Even at the price point, I think they could get that in there. It wouldn't be too hard. Honestly, I think it's one of the ways they promote their more expensive version is to not have that in here. But it is what it is. When I get really steady, I lay it on a backpack or something like that. Actually, the auto ranging feature works pretty good on like a half-size torso. That's really what it's built around, or like an IDPA full-size target. I've used it on that, and it's like really, really close. And so as long as you're steady, it's great. It's one of the main things about a monocular with a reticle. You have to be steady. If you're going to try to range with this, which I have, in fact, I just used it a little bit ago at a little over 400 yards. And at 400 yards, I did my mil estimation formula. So you multiply 27.77 if you're going to round it, times your target height in inches if you know that, or you have a good suspecting idea of what that target height inch looks like. Like it's good to memorize things like a crow or a mailbox height or license plate dimensions if you're going to try to use ranging. Torso height, that's another one that people use. Windows, sometimes people use that. Anyways, look into that online and you'll get your general idea for target height inches. You multiply that and you divide by how many mils it takes up. This is where this is convenient, is inside the reticle, you have a larger breakup between 10 mils after the first 10 mils, which are individual mil separations. You're going to have a hash mark per mil out to 10 on the south line, or the bottom line, and the left line. It's going to break up into tens after that, and then up and to the right, you do have per mil breakups, and that's very convenient for a few reasons. First of all, if you're going to mill an actual target, you're gonna prefer having at least a mil breakup, 1 mil, so that you can be rather specific. Because when you get to like 1.3 or 1.4 at distance, if you're mil ranging something, if you're off by a tenth, it changes your equation significantly. Let's say you're doing something at 800 yards. If you're a tenth off, it's quite a bit in the estimation formula. You will be off on your distance. That being said, I was able to get within 15 yards of my target at a little over 400 yards just doing the formula. And so I'm pretty happy about that. The glass clarity is great. I mean, it's only 8X. It doesn't have to be amazing. but as far as I can tell, there's definitely edge distortion. I don't need huge field of view, which is why I went by the 36 model. There are bigger models out there. There's also a Bushnell 10x if you need more magnification. For me, this was plenty for what I'm going to do. I do see a little distortion around the edges, but the majority center of the glass is great. That's where I'm going to be using it anyways. It's not like a rifle scope where we're going to be dialing and changing angles of lenses. Just looking straight sight path right at a target. So it looks good. A couple of the features that I do like about it is the ocular focus here, or the reticle focus, I should say. The reticle focus is nice and quick. You hand this off to somebody else who doesn't have a bad eye like I do, and they're going to be wanting to switch that quickly, and then I'm going to want to go back. Luckily for me, I always go straight to the right 100% because of the way that my eye is. That's how I sharpen up the reticle. If you've never done that before, just find a nice clear blank wall, something like that, and quickly look at it, adjust, look at it, adjust until it's tight. If you stare at it too long, your eye's memory will start to compensate and fix the image for you, so don't do that. Speaking of image, just briefly I'll say that one of the downsides of a binocular is when you have a binocular, you have two images that transpose together, and that gives you more detail. A monocular will give you less detail just by the nature of your eye, using one eye rather than two. So a slight downside, doesn't bother me at all, and I can use this with both eyes open, or a little better image if I squint and close one eye. The pocket clip. So this sheath that it comes with, by the way, absolute crap. I don't know what this was made for. I kind of don't care. But it sure doesn't seem like very nice. It's kind of flimsy. It doesn't have a quick attach. It's not very cushioned. It's oversized for what the product is. So I'd say Vortex. I like this. I don't like this. I don't use it. And the reason they get away with that is because this one comes with a pocket clip. A lot of them don't come with a pocket clip. This will fit up to a 2-inch waist belt. There's a nice little grip in there, so I don't think you'll lose it. But if you're a big fat guy and you squat down, maybe your gut will push this off your belt a little bit. I don't know. For me, it hasn't happened yet. I like it. 2 retaining Allens on the top there, so if it ever loosens up or you want to take it off, that's easy to do. There's also a lanyard loop right here. Lanyard loop works well. It's a good position, so if you just want to hang it on your chest, you're hunting or something like that, spotting for a friend, that would probably be a good option, but I just like using the clip. The eyepiece here, now a lot of people have said that they just fold theirs back. I don't know what the heck they're talking about because mine will not stay back. This is too rigid a piece of rubber, so it always folds back, so I've just decided to use it. And it actually does help keep out a fair amount of sunlight so I can get a better image, especially if I'm looking kind of into the sun. There's obviously no objective protection here on the bell, and so you're getting a lot of sunlight in there, and it's kind of nice to be able to use this side to block out a little bit of that and maybe just shield a little bit. What do I think of it? I guess for $150, I'm happy with it. But we'll get one more major critique, okay? Even though I'm happy with it, I do think the parallax or the image focus adjustment feature here, it's right here, it's got some knurling on it, it's got knobs just like this one, but this one for the eyepiece or the reticle, this is very smooth. This one, not so much. If you were to compare a parallax knob on a rifle scope, like a decent rifle scope, this is way tougher than it needs to be. I do think it should be smoother at the price point, and it's not that hard to do. Tolerances are maybe just a little too tight or something, and so it'd be nice if it was smoother to go back and forth just for quickness. But most of the time when I'm using this, I'm ranging at one distance. I kind of move it in until it's clear, and then I just leave it for a while. I'm looking at that distance, so not that big of a deal. Again, guys, for the price, this is the best deal on the market. You're not going to find anything cheaper than this. Vortex has a range of options, some with no reticle in them, some with no pocket clips, some with more, some that have, I think there's a 15X. That one I would love to have, except for it is larger. One of the benefits of this one is that it is so small. If you just compare to the size of my hand, pretty small. Let's go pocket knife here. Here's a Cold Steel 8010. Okay. So it's nice and small. I like that about it. They do have bigger versions. They have slightly smaller versions or more thin versions. And so maybe it's something worth checking out if you really need one that has a tripod adapter on there. I understand that. And those, Bushnell would be the next one up as far as price point. I believe the Bushnell is around $220. That one has 10X. It has perhaps a better reticle by a little bit. Probably similar glass, honestly. And that one is just a slightly larger piece. It actually has a Picatinny portion, if I remember correctly. There's Picatinny on the bottom, so you could find an adjustment for that to put it onto a tripod or an adapter. And so I like it. It's great. If you have questions or comments, go ahead and drop those down below. If you've had one of these, you liked it, didn't like it, maybe you had a competition model to this, maybe you had the Bushnell, let me know what you think of it. For me, I actually use this quite a bit and I like it. It stays in my car and it comes with me to the range pretty often, especially if I'm going to range for somebody else. I kind of like using this thing. So for me, it's a win. I like it. Good job, Vortex.